Welcome back to Sissy Maya. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to never miss an update. Additionally, consider subscribing to my Patreon to get access to these features, and much more.
Frances Clare Quinlan presented as the quintessential grandmother or favorite aunt, a woman in her early 50s with a neat appearance, a kind face, and a stylish, age-appropriate hairstyle. To acquaintances, she seemed like a sweet lady, someone children would affectionately call Aunt or Nana. She often wore a decorative gold pin with her initials, FAQ, although in the digital age, those letters had taken on a new meaning. Despite the playful jabs from people who thought they were being clever about her initials, they were unaware of the nature of her professional inquiries. Claire, or Aunt Claire as her clients knew her, was quite different from the image she projected. A childless widow who had been comfortably provided for after her husband's passing, she continued to manage her businesses with the same dedication she had before his death. She ran a high-end beauty salon, Claire's World of Beauty, which served upscale women and occasional men. She also operated a second, more exclusive salon known as Aunt Claire's Plastic Salon. This salon, hidden behind a locked door in the back of her primary salon, was accessible only to those Claire deemed suitable. Clients for the plastic salon were carefully screened. Some were recommended by loyal patrons, while others called a special number listed in niche publications. Many who called were turned away, as they did not meet Claire's standards. Those who were accepted were considered to be seeking a unique experience in transformation. Claire and 3 senior stylists worked at the plastic salon 2 days a week. Their clientele included Sissy maids brought in by their mistresses, as well as men who, though not under any mistress's control, desired to be dressed in plastic garments while receiving beauty treatments. It was common to see clients in petticoats, heels, and satin French-made uniforms alongside those in plastic bras and dresses, all draped in plastic capes. In addition to the beauty treatments, Claire's salon offered photo and video services of each appointment, available for an extra fee. Clients or their mistresses could purchase both, though it often made for a pricey visit. The high demand and repeat business ensured a steady flow of clients. The entrance to Aunt Claire's Plastic Salon was discreet, located on a side street with no windows visible from the outside. The only indication of its presence was a sign reading Claire's. To gain entry, one had to ring the doorbell and be buzzed in. Occasionally, Claire made clients wait outside for a few minutes, subjecting them to the curious stares of passers-by. As Claire neared the salon, she thought about the day's appointments and anticipated another profitable day for herself and her team. Her 3 colleagues, Margaret, Carol, and Mildred, were waiting for her to open the salon. Once inside, they stored their purses in a cabinet and readied themselves for the day's work. Claire wore a stylish printed dress and 2-inch heels, and all her stylists were similarly dressed. She then added a plastic cobbler's apron over her dress for protection and donned a clear pink plastic raincoat with a belt and attached hood. The other stylists followed her lead. Just as Claire fastened the belt of her raincoat, the buzzer rang, signaling the arrival of the first client. On the screen from the camera outside, Claire saw a sharply dressed woman in heels and a blue satin dress. Behind her stood her Sissy maid, dressed in a red satin French-made uniform, complete with petticoats and red 4-inch heels. Claire promptly admitted Miss Veronica and her maid, Karen, into the salon. Karen, though under the care of her mistress, was not there for punishment. Miss Veronica understood Karen's preferences and had arranged regular bi-weekly appointments with Aunt Claire. As usual, Margaret attended to Karen. She placed a clear plastic cobbler's apron over Karen's uniform, followed by a long blue plastic apron tied neatly at the back, and a clear plastic belted raincoat. Karen was then seated in a specially equipped salon chair, where Margaret secured her wrists and ankles with restraints. Karen seemed almost eager as the preparations continued. Claire approached Karen, placed a clean maxi pad over her red lips, and secured it with a wide piece of tape. Margaret then added a pink shampoo cape over Karen's plastic-covered uniform, followed by a full purple plastic cape that enveloped both Karen and the chair. A blue shampoo cape and a green one were added on top, and finally, A short pink plastic comb-out cape completed the layering. With Karen completely covered in plastic, Margaret turned the chair around, lowered Karen's head to the shampoo bowl, and began to shampoo her hair. While this was happening, the buzzer rang again. Claire saw that the visitor was a man named Alex, who had called the special number to request a complete plastic appointment and preferred to be addressed as Ava. After passing Claire's screening process, his appointment was scheduled for that morning. Claire buzzed him into the salon. Alex, upon seeing Claire and the stylists in their belted raincoats and cobbler's aprons, along with the plastic-covered Sissy maid Karen, was overwhelmed with excitement. Claire led Alex into a small dressing room and oversaw his transformation. She instructed him to remove all his male clothing and place it in a locked cabinet. Claire smiled when she saw he was wearing pink satin panties and a matching bra underneath his male attire. She informed Ava that these items could stay on. Starting with silicone forms for Ava's bra, Claire supervised the dressing process. First, Ava donned a pink plastic bra and ruffled pink plastic panties. Ava seemed to relish the experience, even though it had only just begun. Next, a pale blue plastic cobbler's apron with yellow flowers was added, similar to those worn by Claire and her team. Over this, a pale yellow plastic dress with a high collar, long sleeves, and a short skirt was put on. A long green plastic apron with long sleeves was then fastened behind Ava. Clear jellybean shoes completed the outfit. Finally, a clear plastic women's raincoat was placed over Ava, and she was led into the salon. As Claire secured Ava in the chair, she glanced at Karen, who was receiving a hot oil conditioning from Margaret. Karen had a plastic conditioning cap under a plastic bonnet on a portable hairdryer, looking quite helpless with her plastic coverage and gag in place. With Ava's wrist and ankle restraints secured, Claire applied several coats of creamy red lipstick to Ava's lips before placing the tape and maxi pad gag. Then came the layering of various plastic capes, a pink shampoo cape, a long red overall cape, 2 regular capes in mauve and teal, and a short yellow comb-out cape. Ava was now fully prepared for her salon experience. Claire asked if Ava was enjoying the experience, and upon receiving an eager nod, assured her that this was just the beginning. Meanwhile, Carol and Mildred had started with their first clients. Carol was attending to Elena, a sissy maid brought in for punishment by her strict mistress, Miss Amanda. Elena had a list of infractions and corresponding punishments, which often included spending hours under the dryer with her hair tightly wound on small rollers. Today, Elena arrived in a dark green satin maid's uniform. As she curtsied and lifted her skirt, her matching satin lingerie and petticoat were visible. She was soon covered with a cobbler's apron, a long-sleeved apron, a raincoat, and multiple colored plastic capes of varying lengths. Carol had already secured Elena in the chair and began setting her hair. Instead of a maxi pad gag, Elena had a red rubber ball placed between her open lips, with straps secured behind her head. Mildred's client Monique was a different case. Like Ava, Monique had been dressed in plastic lingerie, a dress, a cobbler's apron, a long apron, and a raincoat before being secured in the beauty chair and covered with several plastic shampoo and comb-out capes. Unlike the others, Monique was not gagged. Mildred began placing small plastic rollers into Monique's freshly shampooed hair. Monique, though subdued, expressed her pleasure at being a plastic sissy. Mildred gently reminded Monique to stay quiet, warning that she would be gagged if she did not. She advised Monique to enjoy this quiet time before her mouth would be filled. Obediently, Monique complied while Mildred continued working. At the request of her mistress, Sharon, Monique was being transformed into a complete plastic sissy. Once Monique's head was fully covered in plastic rollers, Mildred placed a pink plastic shower cap over her hair, followed by several accordion-style clear plastic rain bonnets, each securely tied under her chin. As a final touch, Mistress Sharon had requested a chemical catch bib to hang in front of Monique, anticipating it would soon collect any overflow that Monique could not swallow. Monique would be expected to clean the catch bib while performing as the plastic sissy. Ava had her hair shampooed twice and rinsed before being towel-dried and seated upright at Claire's station. Claire applied a plastic frosting cap over Ava's wet hair, pulling strands through the cap's holes. Once enough strands were pulled through, Claire set aside her hook, donned plastic gloves, and mixed bleach, which she painted onto the exposed strands. A pink plastic shower cap was placed over Ava's head during the bleaching process. Despite being enveloped in plastic and bondage, Ava seemed euphoric as Claire monitored her progress. Meanwhile, Karen's conditioning was complete. Margaret removed the dryer bonnet and conditioning cap, rinsed out the last of the conditioner, towel-dried Karen's hair, and began sectioning it for the plastic perm rods. Karen sat contentedly throughout the process, smiling under her pad gag as her hair was wound around the rods. Soon, the rods would be soaked with perm solution, and Karen's hair would be covered with a plastic bag and the bonnet of the portable hairdryer. As Carol completed Elena's treatment and placed her under an old-fashioned metal turban-style hairdryer, Mildred finished tying the last rain bonnet on Monique's head. She then applied several coats of creamy lipstick to Monique's lips. Once freed from the chair's restraints but still covered in plastic, Monique began to move around as directed by Mistress Sharon, swaying her hips and touching her plastic-covered head as if primping her hair. She declared herself a plastic sissy ready for use by a men's club and promised to clean the catch-bib thoroughly. Just as she was finishing, Mistress Sharon arrived to collect her sissy. Mildred handed over the remaining lipstick with a knowing smile. Sharon complimented Mildred on her work, paid the bill, including for the tape and still pictures, and left a generous tip. After curtsying gracefully to Mildred and the other stylists, Monique turned to Claire and thanked her, saying, "Thank you, Aunt Claire, for treating this plastic sissy so well." She then meekly followed Mistress Sharon out of the salon. Claire removed the shower cap from Ava and rinsed away the excess bleach from the frosting cap. She untied the neat bow and took off the frosting cap, then combed through Ava's freshly frosted hair. Using setting lotion and the smallest plastic rollers available, Claire meticulously set Ava's hair, eventually covering her entire head with dozens of tiny rollers. To secure them, Claire tied a pink hairnet over the rollers, followed by a pink plastic shower cap. Another shower cap was used to cover Ava's face. Finally, Claire positioned the portable hairdryer on her station and placed the plastic dryer hood over Ava's head, ensuring a snug fit before turning it on. As Ava sat, contemplating the salon experience, the warm air from the dryer enveloped her hair and plastic-covered face, adding to her discomfort. As Claire prepared to admit the next two clients, she heard Carol admonishing Elena, "You've been very bad for your mistress these past 2 weeks. As punishment, you'll spend the next few hours under this old hairdryer, enduring its intense heat and the bondage required by your mistress. Your only relief will be when I temporarily remove the dryer to spray some water on your hair to prevent it from burning." Holding up a spray bottle, Carol misted all of Elena's curlers before lowering the dryer back over her head. This scene was a regular part of Elena's visits, as her mistress, Miss Amanda, believed that prolonged dryer punishment was a more effective corrective measure than any physical discipline. Margaret checked on Karen's perm. She removed the dryer bonnet, rinsed out the excess perm solution, and began rolling Karen's hair on medium-sized plastic rollers to add both curl and body. Once done, Margaret added 3 more long shampoo capes to cover Karen's body. She then placed a pink hairnet over the rollers, followed by shower caps on Karen's hair and face, and replaced the plastic hairdryer bonnet. Despite being properly gagged, Karen's face radiated pure joy and bliss just before her face was covered by the shower cap. Meanwhile, Claire admitted Mistress Judith Maria and her 2 sissy maids. Mistress Judith was impeccably dressed in a black leather skirt, white satin blouse, and black 3-inch heeled boots. Her figure was accentuated by a corset hidden beneath her clothing. Her maids, twins dressed in royal blue and lavender satin with matching heels and lingerie, had been transformed by Mistress Judith some time ago and served her dutifully. Occasionally, Mistress Judith liked to see her sissies interact in different settings, and she had been bringing them to the plastic salon for the past 6 months. The sissies, Annette and Anita, stood quietly in the center of the salon, waiting for their preparation to start. Mildred worked on Anita, while Claire attended to Annette. Both were first dressed in pink plastic cobbler's aprons, followed by green, long-sleeved, full-length aprons, which were neatly tied in the back. Clear plastic women's raincoats, buttoned and belted, covered the aprons. The twins were then seated at the styling stations but were not restrained or gagged like other clients. Several shampoo capes were draped over their bodies, including 2 arranged so they hung down their backs instead of the front. A shower cap was placed on each twin's hair, followed by several accordion-style plastic rain bonnets, which were carefully tied under their chins. As a final touch, Mildred applied creamy red lipstick to Anita, while Claire did the same for Annette. Mildred and Claire then took seats on either side of Mistress Judith on a long couch. Despite being in her 50s, Claire found herself drawn to the idea of undressing and touching Mistress Judith, who always seemed to sit unusually close to her during these sessions. When Mistress Judith gave a nod, the sissies rose and moved toward each other, the sound of their crinkling plastic filling the air with each step. Annette and Anita embraced, passionately kissing and fondling each other's backs through the layers of plastic and satin. Mistress Judith watched intently, encouraging them to kiss deeply and moan with passion. Claire was unsure whether it was the sight of the sissies' performance or the proximity to Mistress Judith that excited her, but she enjoyed the sessions nonetheless. Mildred had to get up twice to refresh the lipstick on each sissy. The sessions typically lasted about 45 minutes, after which Annette and Anita were seated for Mildred and Claire to clean the lipstick smears from their faces, giving Mistress Judith a moment to regain her composure. Once the plastic was removed, the twin sissies lowered their heads and followed their mistress outside. Claire decided that Ava had experienced enough for her first plastic salon visit. She removed the dryer bonnet and shower caps, then styled Ava's hair into a feminine look. Carol had also taken Elena out from under the harsh dryer and was beginning the final styling. Margaret had removed Karen's plastic head coverings and was finishing her hair as well. Once Claire completed Ava's styling, she removed Ava's gag and asked softly if she had enjoyed her visit. Ava could only nod eagerly. Claire then offered Ava the red-stained pad from her panties as a souvenir of the day's activities. Ava nodded eagerly in agreement. Just as Claire was preparing to take Ava back so he could change, Elena's and Karen's mistresses arrived to collect their charges. Mistress Veronica was delighted with Karen's radiant appearance, a result of both the hairdryer's heat and her inner satisfaction. Veronica was well aware that Karen became a more obedient and efficient maid after a session at Aunt Claire's and knew that any misbehavior could jeopardize her future visits to the plastic salon. Mistress Amanda, while maintaining a stern exterior, was pleased with Elena's treatment and assured Carol that Elena would return next week for more of the same. Claire helped Ava transition back to Alex, smiling as she watched him carefully position the maxi pad inside his panties. Alex blushed slightly when he saw the red lipstick stain on the pad, realizing he was now wearing a stained pad just like a woman would. After settling his bill, he faced Claire, curtsied with a touch of femininity, and said, "Thank you, Aunt Claire, for these wonderful experiences. May I book another appointment in 2 weeks and come dressed femininely, but not as a maid?" Claire smiled and assured him that he could schedule an appointment anytime, and they would discuss the details and attire at that time. Once all the clients had left, Claire and the other stylists tidied up the salon, carefully folding and putting away all the plastic capes used throughout the day. Raincoats and cobbler's aprons were hung up, rain bonnets were refolded, and shower caps were stored. Finally, the ladies removed their raincoats and cobbler's aprons, ensuring their dresses were neat and their makeup touched up. As Claire closed the plastic salon for the day, she reflected on how successful and profitable it had been, confident that her salon would continue to meet its clients' needs and look forward to many more fulfilling days ahead.